time that I failed, every time that I've emptied myself, there was always someone to fill my cup. For those that I've done wrong, for those that I've known for oh so long, I'll always hold a place in my heart for you.
I want to say welcome everybody to another episode of Memories of Us. And today we got a really good guest. His name is Andrew. He has an amazing story. We was just talking before everything. And, I don't want to give up too much because I think you're really going to enjoy this. Andrew, how you doing today, man?
Oh, I'm doing good. Honored to be here on your show. Thank you for having me.
It's an honor to have you on, man. So, we was talking earlier and just tell the audience, about yourself, who you are.
Yeah, everybody kind of wants me to start at the beginning. So my name is Andrew Calderella. It's Calderella like Cinderella. It's Calder instead of Cinder because I am the male version. And yes, I am still looking for my princess to come save me. But everybody does want me to start at the beginning. So I was born in Detroit, Michigan in 1966 to parents fighting for the civil rights movement. I was born with dyslexia, other learning disabilities, as well as a lazy eye. Now, the lazy eye meant they covered up my good eye to make me look out of my bad eye. As you might imagine, I couldn't do much. I couldn't read. I couldn't write. I couldn't catch a ball to save my life. I was bullied relentlessly by everybody. Had horrible experiences there, from almost being drowned, thrown in trash cans, called stupid all the time. I had a teacher even go so far as tell me I was too stupid to learn anything. I should just drop out. And I was like in fourth grade. I did have some advocates, luckily my mom and a really nice teacher who believed in me and always told me I had these other gifts. And I did graduate from elementary school and went on to high school, kind of came out of my shell in 11th grade, became the vice president of the school. I graduated from there, went on to college, was on the crew. I was on sports teams throughout my life. And the crew is the rowing team, just so you know. Graduated with a speech communication degree, theology and philosophy. I've started so many different businesses. Traveled overseas, lived in Japan, traveled the world a bit. Had a lot of traumatic experiences from dog bites, a lot of dog fights, and almost lost my leg once to that. I had a lot of car accidents. Once when I wasn't able to really walk or stand up for over 5 years. So while all this was happening, though, I've had a greater mission, and it's always been since I was a kid. I've been trying to find these answers to these greater questions, like why does all this horrible stuff happen? And, what is God? Who are you? What are we doing here? And all the rest of these deep questions. And I have been shown these answers. I've been through a lot, and I've been working on understanding what I've been shown my whole life. So in 2015, I actually came out or discovered the 7 steps to the way. The way is the book I just came out with. And that's the only reason I'm out here doing this, is because I found a solution that can really help all of us. And that day was such an awakening. So I came out here for the next 5 years. I wrote the book, and now I'm just really starting to go on shows. A little nervous doing this, being in the spotlight and everything. And what you're talking about on your show, this whole idea of loss, we went in this a little bit just to kind of start the conversation
right.
there. I have a whole section of the book about overcoming negative thinking, depression, suicidal thoughts, as well as addiction, and the whole process of how that happens and why it's so important for us to kind of go through this and learn from it.
Right.
So anyways, that's who I am, everybody. Sorry for the long intro.
No, man, you're fine. Do me a favor. Hold up your book again so the audience can see it. And, we'll talk about, we're going to dump into that. So everybody, check out the way. At the end, we'll tell you guys how to get a hold of it, how to get a hold of Andrew. And so let's talk about the book. I mean, because man, you've been through a lot. So a lot of personal experiences and to get to where you are. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I know it doesn't seem like it when we're going through the process, right? When we're taking that journey,
no,
it doesn't seem like it because we're getting our asses whooped all over the doggone place, right?
Yes.
And, and it seems like there's a never end. It's like, Jesus, man, like you're going to torture me into submission, right?
That's because we need to be burned to learn and shaken to awaken as humanity sometimes,
Oh, I love that.
As men especially. And burned to learn and shaken to awaken. So,
man, I love that, man.
I think the people that seek the most truth sometimes need the most burning.
Right.
I don't know. It's like I've talked to people that have been in gangs and done some horrible things, and when they come to that other side, it's such a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? It's somebody who never realizes the darkness can't sometimes really live in the light, if that makes sense. That's why we're here on this planet Earth, to be challenged by those the evil and the good choice, the vice versus virtue and all the rest.
So let's talk about the 7 steps to the way.
Sure.
Let's dive into that. Let's basically.
All right, I'll explain it. I'll explain it all real quickly for you. So the very first chapter starts with like, what is the goal of life? Okay, and I'm going to go through this really quickly because I think everybody's going to get this really fast. And just so you know, when you're reading the book, the first chapter is different than the rest. The publisher wanted me to put my little life story in there because it was very analytical and clear. I'm not into talking about myself so much. So the whole idea there, though, is what is the true goal of life? And we talk about the idea of what success is, right? And people get caught up in this idea of success being wealth, power, and fame. And I kind of explain that. And people that have wealth, power, and fame just realize that it isn't the all answer to everything, right? You still have problems. You still have to deal with the life issues and know how to master all the different parts of it. So this idea of wealth, power, and fame, a lot of times is more of a challenge, right? It's a tool, it's a duty, a responsibility, a role you fill, and all the rest. It's not really the goal of life. So then the question becomes, then what is the goal of life?
Right.
And I explain it as I went through all these lessons and learned all these things, but it comes back to, I've been in a lot of traumatic experiences, and so is my family. My sister has had operations to survive since she was a little baby.
Wow.
And when you go to the hospitals and you're hanging out with all these kids, whether I have my issues, I also have learning disabilities and whatnot. So, you deal with children that horribly burned and deformed and just the most tragic experience, cancer, dying. And they have conversations with these kids as kids. And I had this one with this little girl who was in this bed, kind of dying of cancer or something. I didn't know exactly. What she said to me was, she was like, love is really the only thing that matters. And I was like, oh, there's a lot of things matter. Being look good. I you got to eat, you got to go outside. And she goes, yeah, but without love, you can't do anything like that. And she's like, without the people here, my mom and some of the nurses showing me love, there would be no point to this. Because she's living there and I'm looking at her and I'm seeing it from her point of view. And she's stuck in this horrible place. She's got tubes in her. She's dying. And I think that stuck with me my whole life. And it's this idea of what a mother wants for her child. They want us to be healthy and have great relationships and to find something we love and that's good and passionate about and all the rest of the pieces that make up this wonderful life, right? That's what we all really want. We want to be happy. We want to have our people, we want to have purpose. We want to wake up and feel good every day, So the question is, how do we do that, right? How do we do that? And what was shown to me is the solution that all of us need has 4 parts. Okay, and this will cover every self-help book, every solution book that you ever read. If it doesn't do this, they're only partial solutions. So I say the way is living rational, positive action. It's living because you literally have to live it. The solution has to be you eventually, right? You're living this ideal solution, right? It needs to be living rational because it has to be logical. It has to be based in something you can do. You can customize to fit your life. It can't be some foo-foo thing that's like, oh yeah, go sit on the mountain for 20 years and whatever. No, I'm sorry, we can't all do that. So it's got to be holistic, right? It's got to be emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, physically, all of these, comprehensively covering you. So it's living rational, positive, because it's got to be about good. And the ultimate good for what humans want are the traits that we all admire, we call virtue. So it's like we're trying to integrate these virtues into our life. There are so many of them. I cover a lot of them in the book, but in a list, but there are even so many more. It's just like being happy and hopeful and dedicated and disciplined and all the rest of the things that you would look at somebody, yeah, he's a good communicator. He can deal with his emotions well, whatever, all these balanced personalities, everything else that you would want to be is a virtue.
Right.
But so it's living rational, positive action. So virtues, while they're great, they need specific actions if you're going to make them real. And the best actions that humans have figured out are called best practices. So what we're trying to do is find the best practices around the best virtues, all these virtues, and integrate those into our life. And just to give you a quick example, it's like the virtue of being punctual requires you to take actions like leaving on time, setting reminders, being healthy. You got to have sleep, in order. You got to have your food, your exercise, all these different best ways of doing it. And ideally, that's what you have. And the problem is we don't all know the best ways. There may be 5 best ways, and these 2 work good for you, and this one works great for her, and you know what I mean? But those 5 are what we can kind of key off around.
Right.
So it's living rational positive action. That is the way. And then we get into how this all works for everybody, because it's all based in the human conditions. I talk about the meaning of life. And then we go into all the 7 steps. So does that kind of make sense so far, what I'm talking about?
Oh, no, everything saying makes sense. And primarily what I'm hearing you saying that, in order to get that sense of primarily gratitude, is to live a life of servitude. And to live a life of servitude, you have to go through some things, right? Because that's what sparks that passion to make you want to give back, to make you want to contribute. And I find that to be, very amazing when you see people go through that. Like you say, you talk to people in gangs and things like that. And, to see them come through the other side, you're right. It's such a beautiful thing. I used to be one of those guys. I used to be in the gangs. I was in the gang for over 20 years.
And
so, yeah.
But the thing that I get to is like, how do we create a society that you can then bring up people to be their best people without having to have such a horrible fucking world?
Right.
Like, I don't want kids to be drowned. I don't want kids to be bullied and discriminated against and all this horror that is in our society. It's like, if you don't give people proper nutrition, you don't give people proper information, education, emotional support, and an environment, literally what you see every day and the people you're around, if it's not positive and conducive to you, you can't become your best, right? So us who know that we are this higher spirit, we are these nice, good people, we eventually, just like you said, it's like we're fighting against the wrongness. It's like, no, I'm going to be good. I don't give a fuck. You can do that to me, and you learn this lesson as a being, right? It may take you 10 years. It might take you 2 minutes. But in the end, it's that split second. You go from your past self to this current self. You can't go back once you kind of know universal truth, right? Once you felt God in your life and you really understand it, you can't really ununderstand it. Can we talk about God just for a second?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. I think this idea when we were talking about earlier about why bad things happen to us, like you said, you got mad at God, and I hear this a lot, and we get angry at God, like, how could you let this happen to us? And I think this all ties back to this idea of free will. And you guys are biblical, spiritual. I'm going to go biblical here. The whole idea of the Garden of Eden, I think, has been misinterpreted, because you, as a parent, know that when your children get to a certain age, you want them to seek the knowledge. You want them to rebel and assert themselves, to question and everything. So the idea that we were to be mental slaves and puppets to God and just live in this state and is not the answer. I think the whole idea of obviously the faiths in our world have come out the way they're supposed to. They're a bit twisted. So this idea of in Eden is that we chose knowledge. We took it. And it's the idea that we're the children of God. We're made in the image of God. We don't have all the knowledge of God, but we are many creators. We want to know. If you add up all humanity throughout all of time and you go forward, there are people that are going to be into every piece of what God is doing. How did they make the world? What are the micro, whatever? How many hairs are there on an ant? How many planets evolve around, you know what I'm saying? It's like there's somebody or groups of people that'll be way into something. And that's, to me, that's the beauty of humanity. It's this diversity of our being, right? We're true children of God in the sense that we can choose our path. This means that God has to make a world, right, that we can fail as well as we can succeed in.
Right.
And it's harder to do good and build a good world than it is to do bad and to be corrupted, right? And that's purpose, because if it were too easy, it wouldn't be much of a test or anything, right?
That's very true.
Right. So I just a quick story on the arm ripped off thing. I was bullied a lot as a kid, as I told you. There was a bully that lived up the street from me. He was at least 5-7 years older than me. He's always, really, really big. And I didn't see him for a while, and he came back and he was missing an arm. And he's like, "Hey, Andrew, come here." And I'm like, "Oh shit." I'm like, "No." And he said, "Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Come here." He goes, "Man, I'm really sorry." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "I'm really sorry. I was such a jerk for all of my life and to you and everything." And he said, "I learned so many lessons." I'm like, "You told me his armrest off. having his arm ripped off was the best thing that ever happened to him.
Right.
And, that's God. God is like hardcore. And if you think of this life as not the real life, not the forever life that you're going to have in heaven, it's just like a dream you had 10 years ago on a Saturday. Tell me that dream right now. It's like, no, I remember having that experience, but that's not who you really are. This is a testing ground. So if you take, all the different souls, soul is like how do I explain this? It's like you have this great gem, and you're cracking different gems off of that big gem, and that's each one is a soul, and this soul grows into a spirit. Now, this soul and spirit is imprinted on God at every second it's being existence, right? And that's what's moved from place to place in all these different universes. So it's not like your physical self is just energy anyways. If you really get down to it, you're 99% free space. We're just literally energy beings flying through space at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So anyway, I know I just kind of went on there, but
no, you're fine, man. Like I love talking about those things, especially, because I'm a firm believer as well. We are spiritual beings, and our relationship with God is one that to be understood on the individual level, right? Because like you said, God's hardcore, man. He put these things inside of you. And it's something, like before everything happened in my life, I like to say that my relationship with God was pretty awesome. He taught me how to be a man. He taught me how to be a father. He taught me how to be a better person, a better all around, individual human being to other people. And it was the life lessons that I learned. It was going through the fire and coming out the other side remolded. And like you said, it was those pounding away at that gym and watching everything fall out and go, whoa, there's more to this than what I really expected. And so me losing everything
showed you everything.
It showed me everything, right? Because it's like a reverse mirror. On one side, you see yourself, but on the other side, you see your life, right? And it's kind of like, you're looking back on yourself and you're going, okay, the person that I was back then is no longer the person I am now, even though I've had to go through this in order to get here. And it's a beautiful thing when you can look inside of yourself. I always tell people sometimes, man, you have to have one-on-one time with your soul.
Oh, you do. You do.
Yeah. And you get, like, for me, my passion came from when my soul woke up and wanted to dance with the world. And so I started tapping into that thing, that gift that's given to us at birth, right? And it took me a long time to tap into it, but it was like that gem. It pounded away at it, and eventually it cracked open.
Yeah.
And now
you're a more evolved person. I think that's the whole idea of being human, and that's why God made us. It's like your kid, growing up. And I know you lost your son, but realize he is a spirit, as a journey, needed to learn to get to a certain point, so that he or that being could then go on to that next level. And when you see children die and all of that, realize it like this. Like if you had a spark of a creature that you're literally in the shape of God, it's raw, it's free-willed, it's in the image of God. We're talking powerful being. How do you bring this up and not let it be insane?
Right.
Crazy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, from nothing. So what you need to do is you need to put this soul in a world that has confines. And let me I'm going to explain the meaning of life. And I've been doing this lately, and people really like it. So I'm going to go biblical again.
Okay.
And explain the creation and everything. So before the beginning, there is God. In the beginning, there is the omniverse. Think of the omniverse as all that is of God, but is separate than God. And within the omniverse, there is our universe. Our universe conforms to certain rules and regulations. You're in the Child's Game of Life. The Child's Game. You ever seen that?
Yes.
Yeah. So it comes in a box, right? It's got a board. You make choices as along the path of your life. Some of it's random, some things you choose, and it determines how you end up. In this life that we're living right now, the whole game board and everything is our universe, right? The human conditions under which we live are these rules and regulations, and this shows us the meaning of life. So we have big rules like universal human conditions that are things like gravity, entropy, space-time, the fact that we live in day and night and all the rest of the big things. And then there's human-centric ones that are really just about us, like how long it takes for us to grow up and be human, right? The fact that we're born ignorant and need education. The fact that we need all these fuels, all the other aspects of what makes us human. right? So you add up all these together, all of the human conditions, and they focus us in three areas: self-creation, self-control, and societal development. So really, you seriously need to make yourself, right? And you need to choose who you want to be in this life. You can't just let it go. And you also have to have a society around you, right? And the societies hopefully get better. The more conducive the society, the carebringer or your caregivers are in helping you start, the better life you're going to have. So we need a good society, and we need to become our best. So that's the kind of idea. And if you look at those, you really see what the meaning of life is. So the meaning of life, if we have to literally create ourselves, the meaning of life is found in making your life meaningful, right? It's found in creating a meaningful life. So, and that's what God did here. God is like, you literally, from nothing, coming out of a woman, and the woman has to take responsibility for her body and you and as the parents and caregivers in the society. But his kid then has to grow up and become somebody. And that's the whole idea here, is like, are we as a society creating something that is conducive to people becoming their best selves? And that's the whole idea of the true society. I cover that in the book. And in your true self. These 10 laws that are in there. I know I'm just jumping around here. There's so much to cover.
Fine. Yeah, no, you're fine. Take your time, man. We got time.
Okay, cool. So
we got time. You don't have to rush.
All right. I always feel rushed. I don't, when you're called stupid all the time and nobody wants to listen to you, I think I have some scars in me as from being a kid. And even now, I mean, I've run businesses. I had good talks. I still have these scars, and it comes out sometimes. And I appreciate you saying that. So I always feel rushed. I always feel like people don't want to listen to me.
No, man. Take your time. Speak your truth, man. Like I said, we have no time limit. So by all means, man, take your time, brother.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And just so people know too, I want to say that this isn't a competition between us. Okay. The true goal of life here is for you to become the best person you can be, right? Live your best life and ultimately go to heaven. So this has nothing to do with you competing with me. So that is very, very important, especially for men, right? This is men's world in a way, and we are the biggest problems in the world. Seriously, it's either the men that are good, trying to do all the good works, fighting against all the guys that have been corrupted and want to put everybody else under the thumb, and all these games that we play. And this arrogance, you know what I mean? This dominant games that we play is what is the biggest problem in the world. So the question is like, how do we as men become better people and not become such dicks to everybody? You know what I mean? It's like the more power you have, the more arrogant, more strong, the more secure and confident you feel, which is great. But if you don't have a core belief system that allows you to navigate that, you're going to become corrupted, fall to the dark side. And, as Christ said, not be able to go put a rich man can't go to heaven or something. It's easier to put a camel through an eye of a needle, something like that. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
But that's because people get corrupted. So the reason I'm saying all this is because we didn't get into the 7 steps, but the first 3 steps are how everybody in the world, everybody can follow these first 3 steps and get on the same page. The whole idea here of the way and everything is to kind of weave together all these universal truths as threads. You think about golden threads into a rope that we can use to pull ourselves up with, and it's this foundation that we can stand on that will allow us to kind of unite. Not just kind of, this will allow us to unite and fix this world and fix our lives. And so for me, it's always going to the center. So the first 3 steps are, the first step is, let me say to you like this, you know what the good is. And I say to you this because we as human beings are innately programmed to want and know the good. First you have to kind of understand what it means, but you want clean water over poisoned water. You want to be free and not be a slave. You want to be loved, not be hated, all these things. I mean, it's fairly obvious. So, but that's important. This is how we can all walk together. So we all know the good. Right. The second step is once you know it, you're going to want it. You're going to want it for yourself and your loved ones and your world. I mean, if you're really a good person, you want the good for everybody. So you want everybody to have clean water and, all the rest of the goodness. And the third step is we as beings must choose this as our path. I mean, you as a human must really, truly understand that you have to make a choice in this life. This is vice versus virtue. This is good versus evil. Are you committed to being good? Are you wanting to walk the light side or not? You know what I'm saying? You have to make this choice. So that's it. Those are the first 3 steps. I know good. I want the good. I choose the good. And I'm hoping most of humanity would be standing with me on these first 3 steps, right? So we're all together right now. Now, the 4th step is the key to this all. And it's what sets up everything. It's what I found when I was very young, and I found this, I can't even tell you how many years of studying psychology and faith healing and placebos and all of these things. It kind of dawned on me one day. I was in the middle of Freud, and he was talking about these two patients and how one of them was recovering and they had similar things than the other one. And it dawned on me that it's the beliefs. That's it. That's the deciding factor, period, in all of this. If you believe, you can literally heal your body. Like they've done this in wartime where people are in, literally have their legs hanging off. They're like, we don't have any drugs left. Just tell them you're giving them the drug. Just lie to them. And these people believe it and they don't have the pain anymore.
Yeah.
And that's only because of the power of mind being able to do that. The same thing with faith healers, the same with all of this. So the power of your belief system is what will save you. And so when I got into this, I was like, okay. So it talks about beliefs, and we talk about core beliefs. Everybody's like, oh yeah, you got to have great core beliefs, everybody has a core belief system. And you get into asking people what their core beliefs are, and it's like, well, they name out a few things. Some people throw out the 10 commandments. I ask them, what are the 10 commandments? And they're like, I don't know. Don't kill people, don't steal. Like throw out a couple they don't really know.
Yeah.
And then they say faith, family, and whatever. I'm like, that's not really a belief, but that's a focus. I get that. So we don't even know what core beliefs really mean. We don't even have a set that we really follow or even understand how they play in our life. And when I'm telling you, your core beliefs, even if you don't know them, you have them. They affect everything. They affect your attitude, what you're going to do every day, how you speak to people. Every bit about who you are found in these core beliefs. So the question is, what are the 10 core beliefs that will allow you to be the best person you can be and help you navigate all of life and all of these things?
Right.
So when I was young, I had this really intense spiritual experience. I won't go through that now. It's kind of long and involved, but I was shown these 10 laws. Okay. And I didn't realize that that's what these were then. I was shown these 10 laws long before I came up with this, what I just explained to you.
Right.
So these 10 laws are how we become the best people we can be. So the first law, these first two laws are the laws of purpose. Okay. And these are the laws to live by. Think about these are like commandments to self, and a guide. So the first one is my primary purpose, or our primary purpose in life, is to be yourself, live your true life, and go to heaven. The primary purpose of society is to become the true society. So it should seem fairly obvious that being the ultimate you, living your ultimate life, helping create the ultimate society, and going to the ultimate place would be the ultimate goal of life, right? So if you think about that as a guide, that's going to set your direction, right? It's a positive direction. You're going to become your best. It's all about, again, the way is living rational, positive action, integrating virtue and best practices into your life. It's about you becoming the best person you can be, living your best life, going to heaven, helping creating a wonderful world. So all that fits together. So that gives us our direction, it gives us our purpose. And again, we get into very specifics on how to accomplish all of this. It's not just some sky ideas. I literally am going to go down and tell you how to breathe and eat and sleep and, have relationships, build friendships, about the power structures of society, how to fix them, everything. It's all covered in the book. So This isn't just ideas. This is practical knowledge. So again, those are the first two laws. These next three laws I call the universal laws. And these, just if we follow these three laws, seriously, if you ingrain these in your mind, in your being as a person, they will solve most of the problems in the world. Seriously. And I've had this discussion with everybody and nobody disagrees with this. And I would love anybody to challenge me on this. And I don't really want you to challenge me. I want you to see the truth in this. So the first one is respect life. So if you respect life, this means we care for our world. This is literally our nest, our womb, it makes our food, our water, takes care of us. And if we care for it, it'll care for us. It'll thrive, right? I mean, it literally will do everything we need. The next one is to know that all people are equal. And this is science and religion, faith agree. Okay. For science, for all of humanity, as far as we being one people, we're one race, one human race, one species. We share 99.9% of our DNA. Right. So for science, we're all one people. For religion, we all know that God created everybody and everything. So there is no disagreement here. We are one people, and equality goes beyond. You don't have to want to hang out with everybody. You don't have to like everybody and respect everything everybody says and all of that. We respect them as human beings, though. We treat people with dignity. We can treat people with equality within the systems of our society. You know what I mean? We can fix all the inequalities. So it's not just equal, it's great. for everybody. The whole idea is to create art in our society, to live a wonderful life. I mean, you can have a building that looks like hell, and you can look like a building that looks like a work of art that you're like, wow. So, I mean, if we build a society of wow and lives of wow, and we're all great, wonderful people, and our society is wonderful, that's how we're going to keep becoming better. So respect life. Know that all people are equal. And then the third one is so obvious. It's that to treat people as you want to be treated, the golden rule. And this has just shown up in every faith and every idea system, pretty much of philosophy on how to be good people in the world. So if you literally respect life, know how to care for the world, and we do that properly, treat people with equality within life, in our systems, and dignity and respect and politeness and all the rest, and we treat people as we want to be treated, and again, we can solve all the problems of the world. I mean, the killing of George Floyd, the guy that's killing him, and his mind, he could not have been doing that if he saw him as his equal and as somebody who, and he's treating like he would want to be treated. Most of the problems in our society, I mean, I've seen so many protests and inequities. It's always like you said, it's always us downtrodden. It's like, I have to fight for I'm disabled. I can't walk. Can you please make a way I can get around in society? It's like, and again, I always go back to civil rights and stuff, but it's like, I'm so bad with names, just, my dyslexia and everything. Every time I want something like a name, it's like,
it kind of goes out. I call it sometimers.
Okay. I have sometimers since I was a kid. I literally could spell a word correctly. My mom would do this. Like, I just did it. She'd go, okay, spell it again. I'd be like, it's just gone now. So anyway, in America, back in the slave days, it's like, there's a slave woman that makes the railroad. What's her name? The Underground Railroad. Harriet Tubman. Yeah. And it's like, where are the good white people or, rich people that are like against slavery? Where's their railroad? You know what I mean? Where's that in history? There isn't one. I'm like, why? I mean, there is a little bit, don't get me wrong. There were some good people back then, but it's always like, you look back in history, it's like Gandhi. It's like starving to death, it's like just whatever. He's got nothing. He's trying to create peace. It's not like he's some rich guy, right? Buddha, he was a rich guy. He was a prince. And then he saw the horrors of life and he was like, oh my God, this is insane. So he became the Buddha when he was awakened, and he gave the Eightfold Path and the Noble Truths and all that kind of stuff. But, it's like you said, it's like all the people, the wrongness. I think the goal, though, we got to create a better world to where there can still be challenge and lessons, and we can raise our kids to know the goodness without having to go through much badness. You know what I mean? I don't want, and again, we in America, I mean, there's places in America that are so unbelievably horrible and all over the world that you're like, it would be, the 1600s or, 500 BC, and now would be the same. You know what I mean? It's not like anything has changed. It's still the horror of this human reality that hasn't changed much in a lot of the world. And that's what I'm saying is like, we can't leave anybody behind. We are brothers and sisters. This whole challenge isn't just an individual one. You know what I mean? You certainly can go to heaven and do all this great stuff, but I think a lot of us come back because we're like, no, we don't want to leave anybody behind.
Right.
You know what I mean? We really don't. Once you're a good person and you really get to that level, I think you're like, wow, this really shouldn't be this way. And it's certainly, I'm all for challenge. I'm all for, everybody's going to have traumas and whatever. We make them up. I know, people that are like making mountains out of molehills, right? We as a human race will still do that. I'd rather somebody do that out of a minor trauma in life than almost being murdered. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think there's a level of trial. And I hear this from people when I've been on shows and stuff where they're like, yeah, but all the best people come out of being bullied, and it's good that they're bullied. I'm like, no, you know what I mean? It's like we fight because of that, but I could have been something else.
Right.
I'm a half-blind dyslexic guy that took 30-something years to bring this knowledge to the world. I don't know why God picks people like us, like you said, but I think it's because we are asking for the truth, and God's like, you really sure? God asked me this throughout my life, and I remember when I gave commitment after commitment, and some of these were super serious. Like, you had to make sure, because he'll do anything. Literally break me in car accidents, attack me by dogs. I have so many fights. I walked in. I could walk in anywhere at some point in my life, and I walked in to buy a flower for my mom in a flower shop, and it turned out to be a throwdown. like just asking for a plant. Like, I'm the kind of guy that was at some point. I can't even tell you how many fights I was in, just as a kid or growing up. I was also a bouncer in college club, and take on people with knives, or just some surreal situations. Can we just break off and me tell a story right now?
No, go right ahead, because I was gonna ask you a question about that anyway, because we talk about these trials and tribulations, and everybody's going to perceive it differently. I know I did. I looked at my trials and tribulations as breadcrumbs to manifesting my gift, right? Because like yourself, I was never bullied, but I was molested. And the guy who molested me stopped molesting me when I put a knife in his testicles. I told him, I said, "You'll never touch me again." I was 6 years old, and so in my mind, my sister was.
You should never have gone through that.
Yeah, well, who's to say? Because it made me who I am, right?
I know, but I'm saying to you that is still the wrongness we got.
Right.
And again, I'm just saying to you that regardless of what you learn, and the same thing with me, dude. I learned a lot, but it still doesn't make that bullying right. I said this to somebody the other day. It's like, just because I learned something profound from you being a bully doesn't justify you being a bully or what you did. It still makes you wrong. It doesn't mean I have to forgive you for that unless you wake up and realize that whatever. You don't. This idea of forgiveness is like for self. It's like I can forgive everybody and just realize that I feel sorry for this guy. How human being do you have to be to do that to somebody?
Right.
You could start to feel pity for people, where you can find forgiveness, because we're all human, and you could look back at his life and go, what the hell happened to you? What weren't you given? What weren't you shown that you would do that to some child?
Right.
And that's what I'm saying, is like, everybody that you think is the worst person in the world, make them little children and start them over and go, would you kill them right now? Or would you want to try to help them live a better life? And, it's like Hitler. Imagine if Hitler was brought up with a better belief system, treating people as you want to be treated. Everybody's equal. I had this ingrained within him. And he became this super leader, dude. Maybe he would have been super peace man. You know what I mean? Maybe he would have turned out to be some other great speaker guy, or maybe he would have just gotten into art. You know what I'm saying?
I totally agree. You know what I'm saying? I really wish the badness didn't happen to people, and you're right. It doesn't justify it. Doesn't justify it at all. But also, just like yourself, I'd also look at the person and go, okay, let's peel back these layers and let's get to the root cause, you know what I'm saying? And get all this other crap out the way, because it doesn't mean anything, right? This is what you've made up throughout your life to protect yourself. God designed us to be very, very unique. And he instilled in us how to do these things, right? Yeah. And sometimes, even though it's not justified, sometimes we have to go through that, go through that mud. We got to go through that rite of passage, so to speak, right? And I don't want everyone to have to go through that. I really don't, and if they can avoid it and learn these beautiful lessons that you're throwing out there and get something away from, take these gems away. And everybody, please pick up that book, man. And we're going to talk more about that as well. But I don't want people to have it, because it doesn't justify, and it leaves scars, and some people don't make it through.
I still have scars, dude.
Right. We all have.
People like, oh, you're this. I wouldn't envy my life on anybody. I mean, don't. No. That's what I mean. You can't judge people. I've had people like, like, you get so caught up with celebrities and how much this person has or perceives to have, or image and this and that. None of that is meaningful. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you wake up in the morning, the first thing you're doing is checking your phone, you're missing out on your life.
Right.
That's not the way to be the best person you can be. Right.
Right.
And again, I go over in step 5. Step 4 is centering yourself. We talked about that. Right. Mm-hmm. So you center yourself in this core belief system. Just to round out the rest of the laws, last 5 are all the God laws. Before we get into step 6, let me just say this about the God laws. And just because I say the word God, everybody freaks out. And some people have an issue with the word God. I'm going to make it again. Science and religion agree on this. Okay. For the scientists, right, you can go Big Bang, pre-Big Bang. Mm-hmm. Just call that the nothingness. Okay. Nothingness that made somethingness. You can call that God. That's the creator, the first mover in the action-reaction cycle. This something came from somewhere, right? So that somewhere, that's something before this something is what we can call God. Okay, now you can think of it as a supreme being. It doesn't, Yahweh, Allah, whatever the name is you get to it, that idea of the creator is what we're all talking about. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a difference between God, the organizations we have, the messengers, the books, and the followers, right? We have all these different faiths on our world. Hinduism, which kind of tracks back to be almost the oldest, in my opinion, loses it when they make it super complicated. The yogis become this master because you have to assume tons and tons of stuff and you become enlightened and you really can't explain it to people. That's not true. I've gone through Hinduism. I'll tell you the answers there. And just, all of the faiths that we have all share in the same thing. They're trying to connect you with the divine, give you higher knowledge, and all these different pieces to life. The problem is a lot of them become corrupted by the maleness of the superior sickness that has infected our society. It's not just males, but mainly men, where we must put ourselves above each other. So the yogis became the ones. So then in Judaism, right, Abraham was given these visions. God was talking to him and he was like, hey, I want you to bring the word of the one God and me to the world. I want you to show him all this stuff. And he's like, cool. It's all about us, our group. It's all about my tribe. Everybody else is out. You can't be part of this. It's only we that are going to go to heaven. And it made this huge, again, superioristic. And wonder why. And just so the Jewish people, I'm all for you guys. I'm just saying that these things are misinterpreted. And that's the whole idea of why you ask this question of why you're being tormented throughout all of history. It's because God is trying to wake you up to realize you were supposed to be helping everybody, not just yourselves. That was the whole idea of this tribe, was we're one tribe, one people. But he couldn't see it that way back then. And it was because it was very, the guy over the hill there is not even human, really. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's how the world was.
Right.
So it was really hard for him. And then Christianity came along. Christ was murdered for professing what? He was talking about corruption, anti-corruption. He was talking about good food and problems with rich and poor and, all these other issues of society. He was like this rebel dude who was walking around going, hey, guys, we can do better than this. And then the powers that be went, no, you're dead. We're torturing you and killing you. And then he dies. And then a couple hundred years after that, these people canonize, the teachings of Paul and all of his disciples, and they put it into a book. And again, then the Roman Church takes over, and it became the sickness of superiority again, right? It's the emperor popes and the let's go kill everybody in Jesus's homeland. I mean, really, seriously, as a Christian, how do you go from Jesus Christ, the peacemaker, to let's go kill everybody in his homeland and take over? I mean, I don't even understand how you could go there. But anyways, that's what happened. So Christianity's been splintered, fragmented. I mean, the body of Christ right now is like the chopped up little tiny version, not even close to being the envision of what Jesus would have wanted, which would have been a research organization dedicated to fixing the world, right? It would have been like, how do we fix these problems? How do we feed everybody? How do we train people? How do we end the problem with this and that and the other? And that would have been Jesus's church. But they made it like, let's build buildings that you go in once a week and you can give us all your money and we'll sit here and collect it. Thank you. Anyway, don't get me started. I have problems with the faiths and what they're doing to us instead of doing the real work that God wanted us to do. But then we have Islam comes along and the same thing. Muhammad's like looking around. He's like, all right, we have the Jews who are only to themselves. I can't even join them. Then we have the Christians that are so like corrupted. They're like, you can do all week and just go there on Sunday and be forgiven. You can be a murderer, psycho, whatever, rapist, and on Sunday you're forgiven. That's not right. So Muhammad's like, hey, let's have some laws. Let's have more regulation in our daily life, and let's try to figure out these laws so we can all live. And let's let this evolve and become the one religion for all of us and all this stuff. Then he dies, and he even said, he was like, we don't want to. We're not going to have We're not going to have this thing. It's all about all of us in community and this. So as soon as he dies, it was one of his sons, I think, or his uncle, whatever, and another leader decided to go to war. And that's how we have Shia Sunni war since then. I mean, the hatred and division, taking little phrases out of the Quran and the Bible and just using them to justify all of this madness.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So now we're in this age. So many people are awake to this. We know that this is wrong, but we don't know how to make it right. And then what I've been shown is how we can. So I cover these 5 God laws within the way on how we can, if we just adhere to this, we can literally gain some sanity. And this is for faithful people as well as the non-faithful. You have to understand how faith and religion and the books and followers and how people can be taken into into cults and all the rest of these issues around faith if you're really going to fix this world. So I cover this in here. Right. And again, we don't have to go into all the different laws. but it's like we're all connected to God. Let me just look at this real fast. So God is the only God. I know, I'm going to say these as a statement. So it's like we know that we have a direct connection to God, and this connection cannot be broken. God is the final judge, and we're judged by our true beliefs, intentions, words, and actions. Respect God, and I freely worship God. And God can only be freely worshiped, just so you know, because it's like, if I force you to worship God, it's not very real, is it? I mean, it's like you get down there and you pray, and like, thank you for whipping me and make me worse. That's not true worship. The only worship is real is if you really feel it in your heart. So anyway, those are the last 5 laws, and I round those a lot. And again, they direct us as how we can live. So it helps us in our faith, helps us in our life and our universal life and direction and everything else. And then the rest of the 7 steps. So that's step 4 is understanding these core beliefs and what they all mean and all of these pieces to our life. And it's pretty deep. It takes a couple chapters in there, or a few chapters. And then we go into step 5, which is about you perfecting your day. Literally, how do I integrate the best practices into my life? You know what I mean? So from the right mindset, from the moment you awaken to how you go to sleep, we show you all the best practices and all the different areas of life that we all share. And then step 6 is about unity. It's about you putting your best foot forward, right? It's about how you can be a better friend, how you present yourself in a society. We talk about how to overcome negative thinking, depression, and suicidal thoughts, addiction, and all the rest of the pieces that kind of, allow you to communicate better and, just be a good person out in the world. Then the second half of step 6 is all about how we deal with the systems of society, what power is, how we control it, what business is, government is, and how we make them work for us and not against us.
Right.
So it really gives us the key. Literally, I walk through the steps on how to peacefully force positive change within our society, how we can unify to actually do this step by step. And then step 7 is perfect. So it's how we perfect. As in, some things are perfect and we want to keep them the same, right? We like them. But they take maintenance. You take an artwork in a museum, you can't just leave it there. You need to have it in a case and it's protected and all that. So anything that's good in your life, you got to learn how to maintain it. And then there's this idea that there's ever refinement that can be done. Once you reach a certain plateau, there's another mountain to climb right behind there. And that's kind of the beauty of life, right? We need to maintain the goodness, but then always reach and refine all the stuff that we can to become the better people. So the idea of the way is to know the good, want the good, choose the good, center yourself in the good, be the good, unite with the good people, and perfect the good. So it's like this circular process. As we perfect the good, then we kind of go back through the steps again. And it should seem kind of obvious that, if we all kind of get on the same page with wanting the good and being, and choosing that, centering ourselves in these core beliefs, perfecting our day around all these best practices that will literally make you a good and your best self, as well as unifying with people in the right way and then perfecting everything. That should make sense. It's kind of a process. And what I'm saying is, this is how we can stand on this foundation. If we're standing on these 7 steps, we have risen ourselves up to a place to where we as humanity can then take the big next steps. That's how we can unify ourselves. And that's what I'm saying. That's where we don't want to deal with all the fringe issues right now. I get it. You want to talk masking or non-masking or this, that, and the other issue. That's great. But we need to start here and then we can talk about that stuff, because the solutions, a lot of those solutions will become absolutely clear once we're all clear on these other basics of life. Does that all make sense?
Oh, no, it definitely makes sense, man. Having a good set of core beliefs and, and disciplining yourself, coming up with these rituals. Like I look at it in the same way, just maybe worded a little bit differently. Like I tell people, come up with daily rituals, right? You come up with daily goals. You work your butt off to hit those daily goals, right? Whether if it's you want to be healthier or, maybe you want to lose weight, maybe you want to, whatever it is, maybe you just want to work on being better, come up with these daily rituals, these great, habits to help you move along. And then you discipline yourself, right?
Follow that way. What you're talking about right there is step 5.
Yeah.
Because what I did in step 5 is it's called the daily way, and it's perfecting your day. And what I found is there are certain aspects that we all share, that if we perfect them, like your awakening routine. And again, there's variations on that, but there are certain things that we all should be doing in your awakening and your sleeping routine and throughout the day that will make you better mentally, physically, spiritually, and all the rest. So the idea of, just so you know, it's step 5, we talk about ritual, right? And all the different pieces of ritual and how to integrate them into your life. So there are physical things that you can do to do, like if you move or don't move, what physical activities you do. There's mental activities. It's what you think about, what you visualize. And then there's sound. There's, like I said, visualizations, affirmations, sound, scent plays a big part of it. You can add spiritual aspects to your, your life, your rituals of life, as well as gamification. And gamifications make it fun. You know what I mean? It doesn't all have to be so rigid and, and not fun. I think we could really make society so much more fun. It's so rigid right now. It's like sidewalks are straight. You have to walk in a certain way. It's like, why not have fun pathways, and stretching stations and, hang up bar. I don't know. There's all sorts of really cool, fun things we can add into your daily life, to my life, but also our society.
Right.
So it's like mastering the rituals, but also mastering time, mastering your use of time. Right. And one of the keys, just to share here, that I found is, I call them transitional moments. I know I talk a lot, dude. I'm sorry. I have these learning disabilities to where I don't realize sometimes I can go off.
Oh, no, man, you're fine. Like I said, this is your platform, man. So by all means, man.
All right. Well, here's a piece of wisdom that took me a long time to learn, that can help you live this life a little bit better. It's these transitional moments, this idea of when you go from thing to thing, there's a space, like literally, like if you get up from your desk and you walk to the bathroom, that space between you getting up and walking through the bathroom can be used really valuably. It is not just you being a robot and walking. You can literally make cool martial art moves. You could dance. You could do a mini meditation as you do it. You could do affirmation exercises. You could do a mini mind game in your head. There's so many pieces to improving yourself that you can add on to every moment. I also talk about stacking. Like, think about it like this, like you're brushing your teeth. You can stand there and brush your teeth. You can stand on one leg and brush your teeth. You can stand on one leg and brush your teeth with your opposite arm. You can stand on one leg, brush your teeth with your opposite arm, and listen to a book at the same time and get so much more out of that moment, because now you're working on your balance, your ambidexterity, you're listening, concentrating, learning. You know what I'm saying? So stacking different things together. And again, when you do errands, when you do chores around the house, and this is a skill, listening to books. I've been doing it since I was a kid because of my learning disabilities, but you naturally listen. So once you develop the skill of listening, you can gain knowledge. Like seriously, I can't tell you how much knowledge I've gained by running errands, doing yard work, doing laundry. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm listening to books at all that time, and I'd never have sat down and read all of those books because it's just like, it's so, I'm a very physical guy. I have a lot of energy. I have a hard time sitting down. It's one of my issues. That's why I think God broke my back, so I'd have to sit down in front of a computer and write this book. If it didn't do that, slow
you down a little bit, right?
Yeah, I had to show me down, man.
I've been there, done that one, man. He slowed me down a little bit by, he put a few roadblocks in there. And I remember the first when I was shot,
Oh.
And I was running, and I didn't know I needed to slow down. No, at that time. Yeah. Who knows?
That's why you got shot, right? Man. I mean,
that's exactly why I got shot.
Crushed me with a car. It was like,
it was just like, like I was.
Even if you knew, dude, you wouldn't have been able to do it.
No, I really
you had to be forced.
It was my situation in life at the time was different. I was full-fledged game banging. And I was a true game banger, like most game bangers out there, but it was a select few that actually understood that, hey, this is 24 hours a day, and so you constantly have to be aware of what's going on. So constantly moving around. That was me, right? That was me. And then I got caught. And when I was shot, they shot me over 22 times.
Oh, my God.
Missed every organ.
Jesus, talk about the shooting routine. It's like God is like in that.
I was going, when they were done, I was laying down on the ground, and the only thing I could think to myself was get up and go home. So when they drove off, I literally got up and walked home, took a shower, called a friend of mine, and woke up in the hospital.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah. So, it was like when I was in the hospital, all I could think was, I am mad. I am seriously mad, but because I can't do anything right now. These people literally slowed me down. But again, one of those things that happened when I was younger, I realized now what was going on, right? God was saying, hey, I needed to show you something. And then when he finally revealed it to me later on in line, when I actually did slow down, it was like, oh, we could have did this a different way. We could have definitely did this a different way,
Yeah. Well, that's it. I think you're talking about so many beautiful things there. I mean, I think that moment, like you felt when you were slowed down. I remember when I was hit, I was laying in my bed. I couldn't move an inch. Like I'd spasm out sometimes to the point where I'd lock up. I remember getting stuck in my bed where I was like, oh, you just spasm. I thought I was going to die. I literally could not move for hours. And finally, I got my mom to help me. But this mind, I went from working out, be a physical guy, dating, working, driving, everything to don't move. If you move, you're going to not be able to breathe or whatever. It's going to be horror. So, how do you deal with that, dude? I mean, I cried. It's like, I luckily had learned how to meditate and take control of my mind when I was younger. And let me just say this, because I just mentioned meditation, and I want to be clear on this. There's different ways to train our minds. I list them all out in the book, and how we can do it. Now, meditation, the reason we meditate, and there's 5 different ways, is so you can take over your mind and take in control. So many people's minds run like TV sets, like it's just changing the channels. You're at the will of God knows what is coming on at any moment. And for you to assert your will here and there to focus sometimes is a big deal.
Right.
Now, I was there. Okay. I was in 17, 18, 19. I was in college, I think. So it's probably 19 or 20 or something. I went to a Zen retreat. And in the Zen retreat, you could not talk. You just meditated, did these different moving meditations. You ate really plainly and had all this spiritual kind of focus. And it was like on the 3rd day, I was sitting there, and it's like you could feel it. It's like my mind it was a surrendering, a stopping. It wasn't a forced stopping. It was like you're holding something. You're finally and my mind opened, and I was able to just be. And when you meditate, there's different types of meditation. This idea of Zen meditation is letting your mind go and being at one with the universe, and that kind of sensation. So, and that meditation, that type of meditation of letting these thoughts go and finding that oneness in the silence shows you so much. And since that moment, I've been a different person. And I think that that's one of the key skills that we need to teach everybody, because it's so indicative of every human being. And so that's why I'm talking about the foundations of life. I'm not talking about like extreme ideas, like I said, go sit on a mountain forever. I'm talking about teaching children from birth how to learn how to control their minds through these different mental exercises, so that they can choose the people they want to be, and they're not under the reactive state of having to deal with, my emotions all over the place and all the rest of it.
Societal expectations, and then internal damage, and that manifests itself in an external way. It is just like you said, we see it all the time. And I think if we can start to teach people these things, it would bring a lot more peace to their heart. It bring a lot more calmness, and their self-care would go up, right? And I'm a firm believer, learn how to take care of yourself. That way, when others are mistreating you.
Yes. Now, yes. And you have to love yourself before you really love somebody else. So.
Right. And so, what does that look like? What does that look like? And, I love how you go into detail, in depth and about it, because I think that's really, really important. That's truly important. Learn yourself first.
Yeah. And that's what the whole idea of, like, you becoming your true self.
Right.
For me, it was like when I went into this, it's like, what are the pieces to being your true self? Just so you know, and again, we're not in competition. I'm just saying this so people know, along with my disabilities, and this is when you're on the spectrum, as they say, a lot of us sometimes are given gifts where we're taken away on other areas. So I can't do math well or spelling and pull out names and all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I remember the ideas, the themes, the generalities. I'm like the big data guy. I can find, problems in anything that's, right off the bat. So, and see parallels and streams and all the rest of it. So the idea here is to simplify the complex so that it can be utilized. You know, I mean, the human life is complex. You know, I mean, just in itself, you talk to people about all the different things you have to deal with. You need to know how to go to the bathroom properly, to how to control your mind, to raise your kids, to walk down the street. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot. Yeah. And how do you master all of these different areas? And that's the biggest problem, right? You need to find all the different knowledge and all the different bits and all these different places. And it's insane. That's why the world is crazy. And it's like, what did Gandhi say? Was it Gandhi? I don't remember. He said something like, no, it wasn't Gandhi. It was, anyway, one of the other Indian guys. He said, you can't be, it's not good to be fully adapted to a sick society. You know, our society is malformed. It's sick. So if you're having problems, that's natural. You know what I mean? It's okay because society isn't good. I mean, if you were okay with everything that's going on in this world right now, you're deluded, right? You're misinformed. You're not in the know. You know what I mean? You're living some fake life that you need to wake up from, because this world is a training ground. And those of us in power, those of you, I don't have any power yet. Those people in power that have money and all the rest throughout history have gotten distracted. It's almost like they reach a point and then it's like, I'm opting out. I don't have to care anymore. It's all about me. I'm going to stuff my house and my castle with gold and make all you my slaves. You know what I'm saying? It's like something happens in the human mind to where you reach a level and all of a sudden you become the sickness of superiority. It's like an infection. It just seeps into your brain. You can think of it like Satan is like this. There's no evil in the world other than we allow it have happen. Satan's like this great uncle who just whispers shit into your ear all the time. And if you act on it, you're the one who's doing the evil, right? Did God make that person molest you? No. God created us. The person grew up in a sick society and molested you. You know what I'm saying? He did it. God didn't do it to you. God created a world where this madness of our humanity is something we're trying to fix. It's like, if you look at humans, I always look at us and it's like, you could see like this horror story, right? Throughout history, but you also see this hero story at the same time. Like literally, I mean, slavery, oppression, just genocide. I mean, just mass death. You know what I mean? Just and the kings ignoring everybody, living the high life, and just whatever. I mean, throughout all of human history. But then you see all these guys, all these people, all the love, all the people wanting the better. You know, the overthrowing and the need for just having a wonderful life. And it's like, to me, what we need to do is just elevate how we bring up a person, because the problem is that we're all born ignorant, right? So we need our caregivers and our society to give us a good start if we're going to make it, right? That's the bottom line. If you're 25 years old and you've been really screwed up, meaning you were not fed well, given the right education, emotional stability, and all the rest of the pieces, by the time you're 25, because 25, I'm saying, is when your brain kind of stops developing, your brain isn't formed correctly. You know what I mean? Literally has problems because it hasn't been given the nutrition that it needs. Same thing with your body. You're not going to be as strong of a person if you weren't given the nutrition as a child. You know what I mean? You're just not. So no matter what we do, if we're going to create a better world, we have to start at birth and pre-birth, with the mom and the whole environment and everything else this child is going to be exposed to. So this is the chicken and the egg, right? Right, yes. To become better people, we need a better society. To create a better society, we need to be better people, right? So to do that, we all got to get on the same page on these foundations of life. And again, it's like I've talked to people now. It's like, you're 30, you're 40, you're 50. Hey, I just learned how to eat properly. Hey, I just learned how to sleep. Or, hey, I just learned how to love my wife and make her happy. You know what I mean? It's like, we should have all known this stuff when we were kids and not have to have learned it when we were so old. But this is the beauty of what I love about people. We all want to create a better world. So it doesn't matter when you learn this stuff. You can then help pass on this knowledge and imbibe it in the world. Right? If we walk around and everybody knows living rational positive action, knows the 7 steps, and says things like, I live the way, I follow the way. People started saying, I Google it, I Google it, I Google it. Everybody's like, everybody, that's really a search. It's a search engine. Right. Google did that as a ploy. They paid people on TV shows to say that because they wanted to make it an action word. And it seeps into people's consciousness, right? So now when you think Google it, you think, hey, I want knowledge, I'm going to Google it, right? So if we live the way, that's how humanity can become better and fix our world. So the idea here is like, I think God is bringing me here at this time to help us make this transition. Like, this isn't about me. Okay. And again, we're not in competition. There's nothing to do about me. I'm a cog, just like we're all little cogs. We're all the children of God. We're all equal. What this means is that I might find some answers that can help us. You can add your goodness and your word to this to make it even better. You know, it's the diversity of humanity sharing a common idea and reality that makes a better world, right? It's like, how do I say, it's like just look at the world right now. It would be really freaking boring if you traveled and it was all the same everywhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was like, why would you even go? It's like but at the same time, when you go to China or you go to Europe or wherever, you want to have bathrooms and stores and food. You know what I mean? It can't be so out there that you're like, well, I have nowhere to go to the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is like the commonality in our diversity. It makes it wonderful that we can have all this sharing. We all share the human conditions, yet we all have our beautiful way of expressing it. So the way is about these ideas and these ways of being that you then internalize and make them yours. So it becomes your way of expressing yourself. Just because you and I know the best way to wake up doesn't mean you and I are going to do the exact same things in the exact same way, in the exact same order. You know what I mean? It's not. It just means that, oh yeah, no, I know I need to drink this and eat this and stretch out this way and do these kind of things. And I'm going to do it in this way. You know what I mean? And in this order and whatever. So,
and I think that's the most interesting thing as well, is figuring out what works for you, right? Because as you said, and it's a really good point that people should understand, not everything is going to work for you the way that it works for me, right? You know what I'm saying? Gary Vee said something that was really interesting. I'm really careful not to give advice that I know is specifically for me. Right.
Yeah. Well, that's where I think universal truths are a little different.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, it's like, how do I say? It's like if you're a sailor and you need to tie, a certain type of stay, or whatever, sail down. There may be 4 really good ways to do that. There may be one for a storm. There may be one better one if you're left-handed or right-handed or whatever, but there's still these best ways. You know what I mean? As a sailor, you're not going to be just letting those dudes do it whatever they want. You know what I mean? Or using some of those ties that will not work. You know what I mean? Like there are absolutely do not do this type of things too. So that's where I think I was really good at. I was able to analyze all the different ologies and study all this thing from genetics to, particle physics to whatever it may be, and understand what they're talking about, but then put it into a way that it makes it meaningful for us to live, right? You don't need to know. This is one of the things I was doing with the mind stuff. It was like, you don't need to know what I went through or what the psychology of Freud says compared to Jung, compared to Skinner and the developmentalists and the mentalists and the whole fight. You don't need to know any of that. You really just need to know the bottom line on how to make your mind work. You know what I mean? Screw all the rest of that stuff, right? Just give me the bottom line. So that's what I was after. So many of these books I read, it was just like, oh my God, you're wasting my life here. I don't need to know the 15 pages of your story on how you came up with this one answer on discipline. It's like, all the coach books, all the success books, all the help books are about one thing. They're all about integrating virtues into your life. And once you really understand what a virtue is, you can almost look at the chapter titles of every one of those books and go, okay, this is dedication, this is discipline, this is communication. You know what I mean? It's like they just talk about all the coach books. They tell endless stories and they all get through with like five points of, they pick out 2 virtues or 5 virtues. You must be open-minded and willing to listen. You must be dedicated to what you're doing. It doesn't matter how much innate skill you have. You still have to work at it to make yourself great. And, these basic ideas. So what I'm saying is like, let's just cut through all the stories, give you the core that integrated into your life and then work on it for the rest of your life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So taking a more direct approach and making people actually think about their actions, about what they're doing, and implementing these things in a way to where they can be a huge contributor to their society, to the people in their lives, but most of all, finding peace within yourself and being able to project that. Yeah,
absolutely.
I like that.
I think that's awesome. I think the peace thing I struggle with because my higher self and everything and my ultimate self, whatever, is peaceful. and all of that. But at the same time, I have this urgency, this since I was a kid, like, time is short and the need is great. We got to make this work or before it's too late. You know what I mean? I mean, this is like I'm here for a short time, and if I don't get this done, this mission I'm after, I'm going to fail. And if I fail, then it's like a big deal. Like, it's not like it's just like, oh, he missed putting on the tire in that car and the car crashed. No, this is like the world could crash. And I'm not saying that for me. This is what God is showing me. And again, it's like God didn't just give this to me. I had to struggle for this stuff. You know what I mean? This isn't like, oh, he's some, spiritual person that was shown all this stuff. No, I literally gave up relationships, weekends, nights, reading and studying and trying to figure out some of this stuff I had been shown. And I have had some very intense spiritual experiences, and to know that God does exist, but they don't really matter to you, right? It's all subjective. What really matters to you is like, what is the proof of all of that? You know what I mean? Like, I've had people say, oh, they come back from the dead 3 times and they've had all these great knowledge, and you listen to what they say, and you can take the pieces, and I want you to, and everybody's a wonderful, beautiful person. But if we as good people do not focus, like right now in this time that we have, we're not going to make it as a species, because part of this collective lesson that we have is like, will we destroy ourselves or not? I talk about this in the book. The idea of the true society is the ultimate place that we all want to create and all this wonderfulness, but it's the juxtaposed side of that is, our annihilation, our self-destruction, Armageddon. They talk about that in the Bible. And again, this is one of those things that have gotten twisted over the years. The whole thing in Revelations about the end of the world and the 4 horsemen and that whole idea is that if humans fail, this is what's going to be visited upon you. In the Bible, you also hear the idea of the meek inheriting the earth and the beauty and the wonder and all of that too. So the question is, how do we make this happen? Is the dark side of humanity going to win and destroy the earth and people's lives and put us under authoritarian rule again and everything else? Or are we going to stand up as a people and unite and get over this stupid sickness of superiority once and for all and fix this world? And again, the principles of seeing all people as equals, treating people as you want to be treated, respecting life and your purpose is how this is going to happen. It's got to start at that center. It sounds simple, but if you think about these things, and again, I wrote it in depth on what these actually really, really, really mean, so you can get the nitty gritty on it in the book. But if you really understand what these mean, it will change who you are. And if it changes who you are in a positive, good way, it comes out in your actions, in the discussions that you have, in the work that you do. This is the whole point. That's why it's step 4, center. You're centering yourself in a core belief system that will affect who you are and make you a good person. And like I said, if you really focus on it, it does it. You know what I mean? It's just like if you swim lap after lap after lap after lap, you're going to become a stronger swimmer.
Right.
If you immerse yourself in the way and you vitalize these principles, you're going to be a better person. It's just the way it works.
Right. Now, we was talking earlier, when we was talking about loss, and you got a chapter in your book, and I want to touch on that for a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah. That's
you told me earlier you lost your father and everything. And I want to say, first and foremost, my heart is with you. Sorry to hear about that.
My heart is with you too, man.
The chapter in the book, explain that part,
sure.
that chapter for me.
The part about overcoming negative thinking, depression, and suicidal thoughts. Sure. I think one of the key pieces to that is to know that there's a chemical reaction that's taking place here. Okay, what you think is creating feelings, right? And these negative feelings are literally chemicals that are being released in your body. So think about it like this: intense negative feelings over time lead to a downward spiral of negativity that will end you in suicidal thinking. Okay, and it's literally knowing that that this is the cause of it. So it's your thought process, your ability to believe, right, in all this negativity that is going to hurt you. because it literally releases negative chemicals, and the negative chemicals over time will literally damage your body. I mean, it will age you, it will damage your organs and make you, depressed. It'll change the chemical formulation of your brain. So what you need is a solution then, whether you're just depressed recently or you've been depressed for a long time, that's going to work.
Right.
And really the solution's found in the same place, because it's all got to start with your mind. So the first thing you got to realize when you're going through this is to go through it, right? You have to know that you really want out of all of this is to find a way to recover and be a better person, right?
Right.
If you lost somebody, again, I mean, everybody I've talked to, I asked them this question: do you think the person you lost would want you to hurt yourself and become, sad and locked away and an alcoholic and everything else because they died or whatever it may be, whoever you're talking to? And they're like, no, of course not. They would want me to be a better person and learn from this somehow. It's just so hard, right? How do you do it? I'm depressed. I'm sad. I've lost. Right. So the first thing you're going to realize it's okay. You can grieve, right? Let yourself cry like crazy right now if you need to. Don't push it away. The whole idea of being human is to feel. If you can't feel empathy and sorrow and all the great feelings of life, you're missing out. So take a moment, realize that this is here for a reason. There's something you're going to learn right now, okay? And really, honestly, the reason that you hurt so much is because you love so much and you care so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why. And if you couldn't hurt, you couldn't really love. Sometimes God teaches us the good side through the bad side. So as you said, you sometimes had a really good, and then the bad happened to you. And it was like to challenge you. It was like, can you still be good after? It's like the Job thing, right? It's like, can you still love God? Can you still be the person you're meant to be, even when you're going through the trials? It's like, is a person's character tested when it's just every day and nothing's really happening to them? Or is they tested when there's something, when the shit hits the fan, right? As they say.
Yeah.
Right? That's your character.
It's definitely when it hits the fan, because when it hits the fan, you're going to get hit with splatter. You got to come back and do something. Exactly. Now, I've seen both sides. I've been there, I'm just pretty blessed and fortunate to be where I am right now and finding those beautiful lessons that help mold me, to give me the knowledge to be able to serve other men like myself, right? But it was, I told everybody I could have dealt with a lot without a lot of the pain, but now I realize it was part of that. Like you said, God is hard. He teaches you some of the best lessons on the other side of your suffering. Yeah. And so,
so that's part of that's the first step is going through this, is you got to realize that this is not always going to be this way. Right. So when you're going through this, you got to realize that change is guaranteed. If you take certain actions over time, it will change. At the very least, at the very end, you're going to die, right? At the end of your life, there's nobody's getting out of this alive. So the idea is to face it first, seek these lessons, the trials, the challenges, and the keys that you go through. I'll tell you, everybody I've ever talked to, when the pain is the sharpest, and you delve into what they're feeling and what they're going through, they may break down and cry and express something to you that is so profound and so deep and meaningful to them that it changes their life. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I mean, like you said, it's like this, and it may be in that moment, you got to realize that, look, this sharpness is also temporary. It's not always going to feel this way. We're made to heal. Okay. Humans, as bad as it is, I guarantee you will not feel that way 5 years from now. You may have moments like that, but still every moment is not going to be like that. And if you learn the right skills on how to handle it, it'll actually, you can use that energy as a positive force to make yourself into a better person. I mean, just to talk about that for a second, you can see almost any situation. I mean, look at the people that lost their kids that were murdered, and now they're on TV, like helping to, stop child murder or whatever. You know what I mean? I don't remember those two people's names, but there's great good like you. I mean, out here, you've lost so much and been through much to help people not go through that. So while all of this is going on, you want to look through your future self lens a little bit and see, what is it right now I can learn that will help me become a better person? And part of it is really just managing your life. So the next thing is, like I said, change is guaranteed. The next thing is to see the way out. Okay, this is really key. When I get to this step with people, like, okay, you're going through this and you're like, I know change is guaranteed, but how do I get out of this? I mean, I'm stuck in this mode of circular depression and whatever. Like, what are the literal things I have to do to make myself get out of this? So the first thing is, you got to realize that you have the power, okay? You have the power within you. And I know this is this simple step. When I say I break it down granularly, I'm talking about it. You have to realize in your mind, and again, you don't have to realize how to do it yet, but you have to know that you have the power to fix yourself. Okay? You do, I do, everybody does. It may seem impossible to you right this second, but you just need to realize as a human being, you were given these skills. If you just know what they are, you can then take the steps and make yourself a better person. But you have to realize that you do have the power to do this. And a lot of it is just to change your mind. Like I said, a lot of life is about your mind and how you see the world. I mean, you can see one person looking at something and say, wow, this is the darkest moment of my life. And then another person can see it and go, yeah, that was the moment that changed me into the best person, to be the best person of my life. So that's what I'm saying is you got to realize that you can and you do have the power to make this happen. So the next is you have to use this power, right? You literally have to take steps to make these changes happen. And I'm talking about, this is kind of complicated, but the idea here is, look, this is where the idea of the step 5, perfecting your day, your daily way, the actual steps you live, feeding yourself right, eating right, doing all the exercise and everything else. You cannot let this break you. Okay, I know your temptation is to crawl into your little hole and screw it. You know what I mean? And some people then become self-abusive. They start doing drugs. They start doing alcohol. They watch Netflix all day. Screw my job. I'm not going to work. I'm not eating properly. I'm just going to eat junk food. This self-annihilation syndrome, you know what I mean? It's like self-destruction. This is your challenge, right? You can either take this time. There's a huge amount of energy right here. I mean, it's negative. It's horrible. How do you transmute that into something positive? Okay. Understand that your body is a chemical, biological machine. If you do certain things, different chemicals will be released. Right. So if you're feeling depressed and you exercise, it'll release positive chemicals. If you know how to meditate properly, same thing. It'll change the chemical balance in your body. So when you're going through this, you're perfecting your daily way. You're trying, if you just, I've been through this, I'm telling you, if the only thing you do when you're feeling this hardcore depression and you can't move is to get up, feed yourself, water yourself, you know what I mean? Take care of the basics, you will get yourself to be in a better place. And again, I go into depth in the book, but the whole idea here is this is a great challenge. It's like, think about it like this. God has put, a coat of iron all over you. You got this huge weight, right, that you're carrying around. And God's like, can you get up and walk right now? Can you do it with this huge depression sitting on you? Can you still stand up and be the man that you're meant to be? Can you at least take care of the basics of what you're meant to do? Or are you going to hurt yourself? Are you going to walk down the bad path? Are you going to start doing drugs and alcohol and eating bad and gain 50 pounds and all the rest of it? This is a challenge that God, again, it's hardcore. He just took your son. He just took your loved one. He just took your girlfriend that you're going to marry. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you going to do? How are you going to deal with that? You know what I mean? So this is your challenge. And you just have to realize you are a forever being. This is a temporary life, literally is going to end. We know that absolutely. So you don't have to worry so much, right? So the next step is you got to remember you got to be through this, take all these steps, but you also have to move on, right? You got to get to the point where you can let go. You can forgive yourself, forgive them, forgive the situation, accept the reality of badness and just be like, so what? You know what? I don't care. I was bullied. I have these scars or whatever. I can't stand up straight. I can't sit down. I can't do whatever. You know what? Does it matter? The thing that matters is you, right? It's your inner mind. I remember talking with somebody that was paralyzed. And again, I almost was there. So it was like, I really could relate with this guy. And I told him this. I said, look, you're just going to have to go mental. You're just going to have to give it up. I mean, this is the challenge, right? You can't use your body. There's nothing you're going to do that's going to change that. If you focus on that and that loss, and that's all you think about, you're going to destroy yourself. What you need to go mental. Become the mental master. Master your mind, mental emotions. Be able to change the chemical flow in your body. I showed him how he could literally start slowing down his heart and speeding his heart up just through his thought process, and even stop his heart. I was able to do that, slowly. You want to do that for too long, but you know what I mean? You can take control of everything in your body. and master that. So what I'm saying to you is, no matter what your challenge is, you have to be able to go through it as best you can, even if it's just doing the basics and taking care of yourself, and don't go in super neg, because then you'll have to make up for another big problem, right?
Right.
Right. And then when time goes by, if you keep doing these good things, you're going to become a better person. So you can also, the ways to really help make this work is you need other people to, we're social animals. There are people like yourself, you know what I mean? There's groups that meet on every problem that you can imagine, trying to help each other, give support. Even if you are not one of those people that would like to sit around and talk about it, go and help out some other group. Like, let's say you're really good with animals. Go to an animal shelter, help out. Do something productive that's giving, and it will help you. It's like, if you help others, it will help yourself. Okay, if you can fix something in society, if you can find something meaningful to do, it will help you become a better person. It will give you something worthy of doing. It will get you through this. And again, as time passes, it'll become better. Nature and animals, really helpful too. I can't even tell you, so many PTSD victims, kids in the hospital, animals, dog. It's always there to love you, man. I don't care what you're going through. Got a dog. He's ready. He's ready right now. He'll love you right now. You spend all your day staring in your face and hanging out with you and being your best buddy. Going out in nature. Some of us live in cities and very dreary places, and it's mentally, it'll make you crazy. You know what I mean? They've done studies with inmates where if you put them in white cells and white lights all the time or whatever, it'll literally drive you insane. I think there's some societies in which we live in, some places that people exist that are so horrible that it's like you look around, it's just depressing as fuck. So, you got to be able to overcome these things in your life and figure out ways that you can compensate for it. Having plants inside, good imagery in your mind, staring at different mandalas and all sorts of ways that you can overcome the sicknesses in our society and help create a better world so that people don't have to try to overcome so much. The one of the main keys that I have found in all of this, and this is true with addiction, is to replace the negative with the positive. Okay, this is absolutely, you can't just try to stop something. If you try to stop smoking, you're almost never going to succeed. If you're working to be healthy, right, then you have a much greater success. And if you fill your life with a positive thing instead of that negative thing, like instead of smoking, you could take a moment and do some breathing exercises, meditations. You could stand up and do some kicks and squats, or do some healthy things to stimulate the positive chemical flow in your body and replace a negative habit with a positive one. So it doesn't matter what you're doing. That's kind of one of the keys to all of this, is to really just take whatever is negative and work at the positive. It's like when I was super depressed, you go to the gym and you work out and you're like, I so don't feel like doing this. Make yourself do it. For one, that's discipline, dedication. You're learning to take control of yourself. All these positive things you're doing just by making yourself work out. But then you release the chemicals in your body, and by the time you're done, that hour later, you don't feel as depressed, right? You've washed it away. You may go back there, you may fall back again. But again, that's mental discipline. It's mental focus. It's ability to realize this too. This is one of the keys too, I think, that really helped me, is that God wants you to succeed. I know it seems like this world is so fucked up, right? So hardcore that it's like, is there a good God out there? Let me just say this. God is the creator of good and evil. God is not the opposite of the devil, okay? God is the creator of everything. He set this whole thing up, this whole paradigm of good and evil, to teach us something, right? To have you make choices. And the creator, right? This ultimate good, is, if you want to see it. Let me ask you a question. If you're raising your kid or your family, you don't want them to have no trauma. They wouldn't become anything, right? I'll never skin a knee, never have any, you know what I mean? It's like, that's how kids learn. And it's like, so for God, again, if you're made in the image of God, you have the power of creation and destruction, within you. I mean,
exactly.
And we have to learn what is important, right? Do you feel like you know the difference between good and bad now? Do you feel like you want the good in your life, Tony?
Oh yeah, most
Of course
definitely.
you do. That's what I'm saying. So you learned this huge lesson in this life. If you were just a being, I mean, how else would you ingrain that into somebody? Is what I'm saying. People say this God is not good because of all these problems. Nature and the setup of this whole world is only designed to push us, right? The tragedies and traumas of birth and health has allowed us to take apart the body. I mean, imagine, the medicine, the Leonardo da Vinci and his drawings of the internal structures of our bodies. And I mean, it's just like if there's only if you're God and you're trying to make a being into something, there can't be an infinity ways to accomplish that. There's got to be certain ways, right? And you can't, when I look at God, and again, I've been there, man, like, why, God, why? I mean, when I was a kid, I remember, I'll tell you this one spiritual experience I had. Little kid, this happened to me over and over again. I had my friend Casper, he used to hang out with me all the time. And sometimes in my dreams, we would go places. So it's one time, and I've always had these really intense dreams. And I'm not saying like you have it's like an awakening dream, like you're awake in the dream, but you're in a different reality. And it's so unbelievably intense. Like when you wake up, you're like, you were in another world. It wasn't like a dream at all. And this is one of those dreams. Okay. And I've had so many of these, but okay. So this one was, Casper was bringing me somewhere, like, where are we going? He goes, you got to go see God. And I'm like, what are you saying? So we go to this place and I'm standing in front of these wonderful gates. And again, I've been influenced by Christian Western mythology. So just realize this is going to come out in this vision. It's not a literal, like the way this is for everybody. But so I'm standing there in front of this wonderful golden gates, but there's like nature and vines and everything growing all over it. It's beautiful. And I'm standing there, and I'm standing in front of it, and I know that all of humanity is standing next to me, but they're kind of like Casper in the sense that they're not in this dimension with me. They're kind of there, but everybody's standing where I'm standing. So all of humanity is standing right in front of the gate, but we're all standing next to each other in the same sense, if that makes sense. So for you, you're standing here, but for me, I'm standing here, and so forth and so on. So this gate's open, and God walks out, and God is like, this guy's like huge, but he's buff, and he's wearing this overalls, and he's got a white beard, and the whole God thing. But he's not like old looking, frail. He's like, like Superman, And he looks at me and he goes, okay, I got to say this first. All the people around me, a lot of them, they're freaking out. I mean, everybody around me is like, some people are turning around and running, people are bowing down, and people are screaming. And I mean, it's just like the madness of humanity. And I'm standing there, and I'm sure other people are standing there like me. But for me, this is my experience. I'm standing there, and God looks at me and he goes, "Are you not afraid?" And I look at him and I say, "Am I supposed to be afraid?" And he laughed, and he laughs. He goes, so he I don't know, we started walking into this garden, and I could spend hours just describing what I saw in this garden. I mean, it's like everywhere you looked was like the perfect scene. I remember when I first walked in, I looked to the left and I saw this bird nest, and then a butterfly flies in, and it's a perfect little shot. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. I look over here, and there's the squirrels and the bears, and it was just wonderful. And God's like, "No, come with me." And we went into this garden, and we sit down at this bench. And I actually wrote this, I think, as a paper in one of my classes when I was older. But I'm trying to remember exactly what happened here in this first meeting was I asked God, I'm like, why do all these bad things happen? You got to realize at this time of my life, I was being bullied relentlessly. I couldn't see. I couldn't do anything. They were calling me stupid. My sister's in the hospital, almost dying. I was seeing all these horrible, horrible things happening to these kids. I don't know if you've ever seen a child in third-degree burns all over their face and, in their bodies, or deformities and stuff. I mean, it's traumatic stuff, as a child. And I'm like, God, this is horrible. This is hell. Why are you doing this to me? And God's like, I'm not doing this to you. And he showed me that what he's really doing is creating a circumstance that would show us the goodness. It's like that discussion with that little girl I told you, the hell she's going through. She knew more truth as a child than a lot of adults would ever know. I mean, felt it at her heart, the love, and what the whole point of life is. So, it's like for me, when I'm sitting there and I'm asking God these questions, it's like, most of the horrors of humanity that we see are done by us, either through our lack of understanding, right? Or it's through just the horror of the dark side and the twisted past and legacy systems and all this shit, right? The corrupted wealthy and all the rest of that. So, it's like, that's kind of the point of my life in a way is to is to understand, I was like, why did God do that? Why would God be so hardcore? You know what I mean? Like we say, we couldn't have free will if we knew God existed. I mean, if God was down the street from you and there he was, and there's heaven over there, and you knew if you weren't a good person, you didn't do X, Y, and Z, you weren't going to go and you're going to die and live a horrible life. It was absolute 100% written in stone. There would be no free will, right? You wouldn't have any free will. So this idea of God being subjective, or your idea of a future life being something you have to have faith in, I think is part of the point. You know what I mean? It's like, if you knew for sure, you wouldn't necessarily make the choices you would make. It's one thing to make a right choice when nobody can see you, right? If nobody can see you and nobody would ever know, but you could cheat, lie, and steal, or you could take the extra time and do it right, which one do you do? You know what I'm saying? And that's, I think, the idea of this planet is like, yeah, you could not believe in God. You could think none of this is real and take the dark side and think it doesn't matter and all the rest of it. But if it does, where are you? It's kind of like, hey, you just burned your fucking house down, and now where are you, man? It's like I said, when you're going through depression and all that, if you take the dark road and you start doing drugs and all of this, you're fucked up. I mean, you're going to screw up your life. Now you're not like a month in and a month out of depression and you're feeling better 2 months later. Now you're like going to rehab and shit. 2 years later, you're still addicted to drugs and whatever. You've lost your family, and you've made this situation a million times worse. And again, did God do that, or did we do that? And that's the challenge, though. If you're gonna give you a life, and you're God, you're like, hey, I want you to stand up. I look at the future, and what God has shown me, like what heaven is. We could talk about that for a second. It's like, you want beings that are in a place of goodness that then can exist forever and be challenged and have opportunity and all this stuff. But it's like, you don't just want anybody there that's messed up. You want really good people that understand the fundamentals of life that you can hang out with, right? It's like, that's what God's trying to do. He's trying to get you to the point where it's like, hey, yeah, you got there. It's like your kid. You're not going to send your 5-year-old kid to Harvard Law School unless he's some super weird genius. But you know what I mean? It's like, you got to go through some education before you get some growth.
Right.
So that's the whole idea here. And I think if you see yourself as a forever being from the moment you're created, and this is just one of those transition periods of you learning something, you'll get more out of this life. It doesn't have to be that traumatic. At the same time, it's very traumatic. You know what I mean? It's important, but it's also part of this much better picture. And again, God wants you to win. So he's setting this up, no matter how horrible it is for you to be challenged, show your character, make the right choices, and you'll end up in a great place, right? If it were easy, everybody would be there.
That's very
but everybody
true.
can get there. That's the thing.
Oh, yeah. Man, Andrew. So, I mean, I could talk to you forever about it.
I don't even know how long it's been, man.
Oh, man. That don't even matter, Right.
Well, we can do another show, that's for sure.
No, we definitely will, man. We definitely will. I love to follow us with people and things like that, So how can people get a hold of you, your social media, and tell them where you can find the book and everything? Yeah,
let me tell you exactly what's going on right now. So obviously the book is the first little piece. You can go to the website. The website is the hub for everything that I'm doing. It's 7wayme. It's the number 7, WAY.me. It's like a command. It's like the book has 7 steps. It's called The Way. So 7wayme. So you're getting all the good 7 steps within you if you go to the 7wayme. And there you can learn about The Way. Obviously, you can learn all the places to get it. It's everywhere in the world. Just, you look up a bookstore online. It's in there. It's in hardback, paperback, and ebook. It's not in audiobook yet. But I'm also started The One. Now it's The Way and The One. So The One is the one tribe, the one movement, and the one party. The idea here is the one tribe is where we join together and embrace the way and help everybody, support everybody. So I'm starting this on Facebook. It's still in the membership drive phase, so you guys can all go there. On the website, there are links there. Just click the one. It'll take you right to Facebook and join the group. And we'll be giving these trainings within the group, but also supporting each other in this, in our pursuit of becoming our best people. And then that's in the one tribe. The one movement is about joining all of the good people and organizations together in one so that we have more power. If you just think about all the people fighting for civil rights around the world by themselves, and they're all little groups, and all the people fighting for this animal and that animal and this and the climate change, just imagine all those people in one big group being able to dictate some changes. We'd have a lot more power. So that's the idea there. The one party is about creating a political party that's about making government work properly for the people instead of all these other games, finding real solutions and implementing it there. So all three of those are just starting up. I'm hopefully going to make them into something that will change the world. So that, and not just me, I need everybody to help me. I can't do this myself. It's like, go biblical, I guess it's like Christ. And again, I'm not comparing myself to Christ. I'm just saying Christ was like the originator guy. And then he had Peter and Paul and all these other people talking about this stuff. The great leaders of the world that made things happen have groups of people. So we need to kind of join together if we're going to make these changes happen. Right. So 7 Way Me, you can go there, learn about the way, learn about the one. There's all the videos up there, the negative thinking, how to overcome negative thinking, depression, suicidal thoughts, how to overcome addiction, how to fix our justice system, how to stop corruption, why we're not divided. There's all sorts of videos up there. That's what I guess I'm saying. So all sorts of other resources in the Action Center. So there's a lot that's going on beyond just the book. And that's what I'm saying. We want this to kind of live within people's lives and help create a better world. So that's it. I guess that's where you can reach me, and that's what I'm up to.
So if you had any words of advice to give the audience out there, what would that be?
As a parting message, I would say it's not as bad as it looks. We need to be burned to learn, shaken to awaken. We're not divided. We're being manipulated. If we just understand these foundations, we can get on the same page, create a better life, better world for everybody. So please join me. Give me a chance. Give this message a chance. And don't let me stand in your way, please.
Man, very, very powerful stuff. Andrew, I want to say thank you for being on the show today, man. Love the conversation. Love just having you on. Love that energy, man. Really enjoyed it. And I know the audience is going to love it. And I know they're taking some a lot away from this, a lot of beautiful gems.
I can't wait to see what I said.
You'll definitely see it when it airs, man. And, for the audience out there, I want to say thank you again for tuning in for another episode of Memories of Us. Hope you had a blast. Hope you learned a lot. And until next time, you guys stay strong. And we'll see you then.